Welcome back. Good to see you. I know we've seen some of you. It's kind of crazy to be in a room again. And I would call this our staff meeting and not maybe our all-staff meeting because we're not all here. And that's something that we're working on, but it's different today because we are videotaping this. And actually, there are some people live on camera right now watching us. So again, we've had to try to do things differently, had to try to do things to try to get people the most information that we possibly can in different ways, and that's what this year has been. And I've kind of dreamt about this day for a long time, standing in front of you and talking to you. It's a little different than maybe my dreams were. It's a little surreal, I guess, to be here and talking to you guys after so long where we haven't been together. But it's exciting too, because there are exciting things going on. It's exciting to start to get back to work. This is what we've been working so hard over many, many months now to try to do, and that is to get us back working, get us back going towards something that's closer to normal than what we've been through in the last almost now a year. It was at the end of the auto show, that last Friday of the auto show, that we really started that shutdown process. So almost about a year ago this next week. So it's great to see you all. It was great to have you all talking at the beginning here and catching back up, and wanted to really use today to go through some of the new things that are happening, but also remind you kind of what we are all working towards and some of those aspects of what we need to do in order to make sure that we continue to be successful here and we continue to work forward. So we will jump through. There's the welcome back. And in many of my videos, and I'm sorry for putting you through watching those videos throughout these last last many months, but many times I said, I miss you, and I truly did, and I truly missed being with you and missed being around the convention center when it is operating and people are here. As many of you that have been here know that this building, when it's empty, there's just a different energy in the building, and so it's been fun to have people back in the building, to have the vaccinations back in the building, and to get some of that energy back. But I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad that we're moving towards that and moving that energy forward. Our mission doesn't change. It's going to look different, though, and we as an organization will be different than we were 11 months ago. And there's some sadness to that, but there's also the ability to say we can still have success. We can still have big expectations for ourselves to be the best for our employees, our clients, and our community. And we know that over the past 11 months, we've probably shifted more to really serving our community and doing the right thing for our community. And as I've always said, we try to make sure that those three things are even as much as possible. And we know that it hasn't been even for the last 11 months. It hasn't been even and fair for our clients. And I know that it hasn't been even and fair for all of you. And I apologize for that. And I can tell you that everything that we've tried to do is we've tried to make sure that we're still looking out for our community, we're still looking out for our clients, and we're still looking out for our employees. And so I know that all of you have had to have sacrifices over this last year. I know that there's continued sacrifices. As I said, this isn't an all-staff meeting because all of us aren't here. There are people that are still at home and that we're working really, really hard to try to make sure we can get those staff members, those team members, those friends back to work and back at the convention center so that we can start doing what we want to do, and that is hosting events, inviting people into our building, and showing them that we are the best. So we're there. The mission is still the same, and we're getting closer and closer to getting back to somewhat of a normal, but it's a new normal. We're all in face masks right now. That's really different, right? And even if over the last 11 months we've gotten more used to it, it's still different. And it's still something that is going to take some time. And it's going to take some time for us as we start to work together to realize this new normal. It's going to take some time as we start to bring clients back into the building and that new normal. And it's going to take our time for our community to get back to normal. We all know, and we've become experts in COVID-19 over the last 11 months or year, but we want to make sure that as we come back to the convention center and as we work together, that we remain vigilant in keeping everybody safe. And I look at this and to me, and I won't get political or won't whatever, but to me, it's personal, and I think for all of us, it's personal, because if we can't defeat this COVID-19 virus, then we can't get back to work, we can't get back to our normal offerings here at the convention center, and we continue down this road that hasn't been very fun for the last 11 months. And so if we can't keep each other safe, and during this time bringing staff back into the building, then we're not going to be able to then move to bringing more staff back and move to hosting events. And so we have to remain vigilant. We are very, very blessed that those of you that have come back to work have come back and been allowed to get a vaccination shot. And I hope that you have taken advantage of that. That helps, right? It helps protect you, but it also doesn't mean that, we can just go along our lives like we used to. We still have to do the things that we need to do in order to keep each other safe. We have to do those things at home too and out in the community and make sure that we're keeping each other safe here by keeping our families safe, by doing the right things when we're out in the community, by still being more conservative when you're out in the community so that you're not spreading things when you come back to work. Being very, very careful, because we can't get back to normal, we can't get more people back to work unless we keep on top of this COVID-19 virus as we go through. We know the social distancing, we know what we need to do, we've talked about that. As we talk about the convention center though, this gets hard, right? We're used to working with each other, we're used to being in close contact, we're used to seeing our friends here, and we might not have seen each other for a long time. And so we sometimes lose that we still need to maintain this physical distance. You'll see that as employees, we still need to do our best to keep physical distance. Again, even if you've been vaccinated, even if you're wearing the masks, these things help us, but we should make sure that we're still following the physical distancing of 6 feet. We're still making sure that we're watching out for that and being aware of it, because that's what we're promoting to our clients too. Face masks, again, I mentioned that. We do have face masks. Kurt has face masks, so if you don't have a face mask when you come to work, forgot it. If your face mask is getting old and isn't working anymore or doesn't feel good anymore, Kurt has some for you. We haven't gotten to the point of saying you have to wear this type of face mask or not. So as long as your face is covered, that is fine. We don't have MCC face masks with great logos or anything yet, so we're not going down that road yet. That might be something that we think about in the future, but right now we're not. Obviously, wearing your face mask is very important, and wearing it the right way is very important. So that means your nose and your mouth is covered all the time. And so as you see me adjusting it all the time, I'm probably not doing it exactly the way that you're supposed to. It's hard when you're talking all that time, but being as careful as you possibly can to make sure that your mouth and nose is covered. You're having that on all the time, except for when you're eating lunch or at break or things like that. Then that physical distancing, again, comes into play. Very, very important. Washing your hands, making sure that you're being very aware of that as you go throughout your day is very important too. Trying not to touch your face, touch your eyes. Those are things that we've learned over the last 11 months that are very, very important. and make sure that you're doing that as much as possible. And then we are asking you to do your health screenings and understand your body and how you're feeling, and being aware of yourself through health screenings at home. That means understanding and taking your temperature, understanding if you're feeling sick, knowing if you've come in contact with people who have potentially had COVID-19, tested positive for it, and making sure that you're making good decisions before you come to work. And when you come to work and you use your badge to swipe in or to come into the building or to go into the ramp, that is basically you saying, I am not sick, I don't have COVID-19 to the best of my knowledge, I'm feeling good, I haven't had contact with anyone, and I'm coming to work. And so we're putting it on you to be respectful of all of us, to make sure that you are watching this and making sure that you're not coming to work and again getting us sick here at work, or getting our clients sick here at work. And so it's really important part of this. And the city has actually been very good at giving a lot of different time options for people when they get COVID-19 or if they've been exposed to COVID-19. And so you don't have to feel like you're going to be dipping into your vacation or sick time or things like that. The city is given time and there are options for you so that you can make sure that you stay home and so that we can remain safe as you go forward. If you have questions or if you're in that situation, reach out to your manager and supervisor and they can tell you what those options are. And so they can make sure that you're making the right decision as we go through. Marcus was going to talk a little bit about building access. Are you okay using this? Or?
Good morning, everyone. Good to see some eyes here and hear some voices. As far as building access, it stays the same as far as the 3rd Avenue entrance. We have a card reader there. The old employee entrance has a card reader off of 1st Avenue. What's slightly changing, the testing and vaccine site is using the 3rd Avenue ramp, a good portion of it. So when you come, park behind Hall Delta in the chiller lot in the marshalling yard. All you guys should have access on your card readers to come through the 1st Avenue gate. The Delta West people door is unlocked, so you can come through that way. We may change parking week by week depending on the operations that we have going on in the building. With the vaccine and testing site and what we've seen with events, parking has been really busy and congested. So we're gonna make sure we still take care of you guys, you can access and park. Also, if you come through public transportation, ride a bike or walk and you're coming down, you can access too from 2nd Avenue at the Joe Mauer doors. Just contact the command center. We'll come out there and let you in that way. Any questions? All right, thank you. Yes, good question. So on vaccine days, we'll have the Southgate staff because their employees are parking behind Hall Bravo. And just for flow of entrance and exit into the yard, we're having Southgate be an entrance only and you exit out of Westgate on vaccine days. Any other days, when we have test site or events, more than likely Southgate will be locked down and secure. So then you'll enter and exit from First Gate. So that's how we've been managing that. That's valid. We can look at that or also walk behind the bleacher, and then we can send updates through the daily message or email if we change access points via the yard or coming into the building. We'll get that information out there to each of your departments. Okay, good questions.
One of the main learnings for me this year is that I have to be flexible. I can want something a certain way and I can hope for something a certain way. Something can really annoy me that I have to do something differently than maybe I would like. But this world right now, tomorrow something will change and we'll say, oops, we can't do that. So we have to be open, and it's going to be frustrating at times. We have to be open for things to change. We have to be open for doing things a little bit differently. And sometimes those things are going to be annoying. We're using this building way differently than we have ever used it. And so how we access the building, that's going to change a lot over the next 3-4 months as things come and go, and we have different opportunities and we're trying to figure things out. And sometimes, believe it or not, we will make mistakes and we'll do things that you'll say, what in the heck are they thinking? And we're trying to figure out. We don't get always the greatest information from the state when it comes to the vaccinations and the testing site. And so all of a sudden, a plan that we've put in place will have to change because information that they came from them will change. Same thing with events. They're coming in here nervous and trying to figure things out and trying to figure access out. And so I ask you, and we need to provide really good communication to you, but I also ask you to just please be flexible. Please understand that we're trying to do the best to make sure that we can have events in the building, that we can do these things, but know that more than likely there's going to be things that are annoying and that you're going to have to get through. And I apologize for that. And wherever we make mistakes, know that we would love to hear your feedback so that we can make it better and we can improve on it as we go forward, as we access the building and as you get here. And it's kind of going to be like, remember when the Super Bowl was here and we all talked about, hey, maybe you might have to leave 10 or 15 minutes earlier from your house because things might be different when you get down here. I would say especially on the first day of a vaccination of that week, come early, because what we have found is that every first day of a vaccination of a week, things are a little bit more difficult. And once you get to that second day, things get easier, and the third day is easier, and the fourth day is easier. So we will try our best to communicate with you, but I am almost 100% sure that at some point we will frustrate you, or something will frustrate you as you come to work and something has changed. And just know that we're doing our best with the information that we have going forward. And Kurt was going to talk a little bit about cleaning and some of the things that we've got in place, if you want to do that.
Thanks, Jeff. If you haven't already heard it before, one of the things we did last year was we got our building and our processes GBAC Star accreditation certified. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's a 20-point outline of everything from what Jeff's responsibility is all the way through inventory control and processes and record keeping and things like that. What GBAC Star did was basically take the protocols that are out there right now and elevated them specifically for the prevention of and response to infectious diseases and outbreaks. So by us getting that accreditation, what we're doing is we're committing to and we're improving upon our cleaning and disinfecting protocols. So what does that mean on a regular basis? It means touch point cleaning more often. It means making sure that we're cleaning our restrooms more often, office spaces, things of that nature. So it's really just kind of elevating what we've been doing in the past up to a little bit higher standard. And not necessarily that we do it all perfectly right off the bat, but also that we have processes in place that allow us to check on what we're doing, learn from maybe where areas we can improve on, and then work to correct those. So it's a whole process with that that we're doing. So part of that is there's responsibilities that I have, there's responsibilities that the supervisors have, and there's responsibilities that the OMS and BMWs have as well. But you will see us if you're here, or when you do get here, for those of us that aren't here yet, you'll see us in areas more frequently cleaning touch points. Touch points are anything that we might put our hands on throughout the course of the day, a door handle, an elevator button, anything like that. really trying to do our best to hit areas 3 times a day. If you think of it in the course of a day, when you get here, halfway through your day, and before you leave. The only areas really that aren't specifically on our list is an individual's workspace, whether that be a cubicle, an office, anything like that. But anything else around there, we will take care of. If you are in an office space or a cubicle and you want something specifically cleaned, or you need some product to do that, let me know. I can definitely hook you up with that. I have a variety of wipes for desk areas specifically. I have a variety of hand sanitizer that I can get you as well. And like Jeff said earlier, masks. I have a lot of masks as well. I even have a stock of coffee filters if you want to double up and insert the coffee filter, into your mask kind of thing. I got that also. So frequency cleaning. We did get an electrostatic cleaner, a disinfector, which if you're not familiar with that, that's when you see people, spraying things down. It's very specialized in its use and when we're going to use it. It's not necessarily something we would use all the time. So we're really communicating with the events and what their needs are and kind of what their expectations are, how they're doing their event, the size of the room, all those things go into planning whether or not we would actually use that or whether we would use our Orbio water, which is something that does work for the particular viruses that we're dealing with right now. You'll hear it referred to as the yellow Orbio or the multi-micro. It's a hypochlorous acid. It is on the CDC's list N for the prevention of these diseases, COVID-19 especially. So it does work when we use it properly, and that's part of the training that we're doing to make sure that we do use it properly and we use it effectively. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, I'll pass it back to Jeff.
All right, thank you. So when we say that we want to be the best, right, this is one of those places that we really have put a lot of effort in to be the best. So this GBAC certification, GBAC Star certification, is something that is going around the industry, and we were one of the first venues to be on this list and to receive this GBAC Star certification. And so that means, again, that we are raising our level of cleaning. Cleaning has always been something that our clients have said we do well. And now we're raising that level. And so part of that is because it's the fight, right? I have said being in the vaccine business and being in the testing business and being in the cleaning business is part of the fight, and part of the fight against this virus to make sure that when people come to this building, they feel confident, they don't get sick, and that we are doing the right things. But not only that, what GBAC Star does is it takes us to the next level, right? We're an organization that wants to be the best, and in order to be the best, you need to keep improving. And so these processes will really help us continue to improve and do the right things going forward. So I appreciate all the work that went into this. It's going to be different. It's different for a lot of staff. It's different for a lot of supervisors. You'll see it if you're not in those areas. You'll see it. You'll see that it's different. And so I really appreciate this work, and this work is going to help us, right, get to that next level and to keep people safe when they come to the convention center. With all of that, I don't know about you, but this has been a stressful year, and it's a stressful time now. And part of that stress comes from the unknown, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen with our lives, our families, our health. We don't know what's going to happen with our job. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And it seems like everything is ever changing. And so I hope that you all have good structures of friends and family and things like that. And I know that that is important. But it's also important that as you're feeling stressed, that there are other areas that can help you. And our EAP is one of those areas, Employee Assistance Program. That's something that comes free of charge as part of your city benefits. And just know that that is there for you. And as you're feeling that stress and as you're feeling the weight of what this last 11 months has been, know that there are opportunities for you to get help in different ways through this EAP. There's also opportunities for you to talk to your manager, talk to me, talk to the directors, and let them know that you need some extra help or you need something, and we will do our best to help you through that. But the EAP is a great resource for you, and I would hope that if you need help, that please ask for that help. Those stresses come out in many, many ways, and those stresses usually hurt yourself and hurt the ones that you love. And so don't let this last 11 months of this pandemic hurt those relationships, hurt yourself. Find that help and use the resources that are available to you from the city. All right, so let's talk about where we're going. And as I said, it sometimes feels like we get revved up and ready to go, and then we have to change and do things differently. There are still a lot of unknowns. The next probably 6 months to a year are going to be some peaks and some valleys where we get a little bit more busy and then we get slow, and then we get busy and we get slow. That's part of this process of getting ready to go again. We're still going to go down this road for now of social distancing, attendees wearing masks as they come in, because that is part of what the CDC guidelines are. And even if the virus goes to a very, very low level, we want to make sure that we don't have any more spikes, and that those spikes aren't because of the activity at the convention center or other venues like this. Because if it is proved that we're a part of COVID-19 coming back, guess what? They're going to shut us down even more than what they have over the last 11 months. And so we have to be very, very careful in how that plays out going forward. I can tell you that we have lost a lot of events in the next 3 months, and so it's going to be pretty spotty over the next 3 months. We're holding on to a few events in that June, July, August timeframe, and then as we start to get into the fall, right now we look relatively busy, but those clients are very, very nervous, and so they're on kind of the edge of if they're going to happen or not. And so the future for 2021 is still really challenging as we go through. 2022, again, looks good, right? Everybody assumes that we will be back to a more normal place, potentially still wearing masks, potentially still social distancing, but hopefully hosting more events. Probably the biggest event in the last week or so that has canceled is the Home and Garden Show, and so that was a tough day. But the Home and Garden Show had pushed back to the end of April, and now they've canceled, and so that show is not going to happen. And that was really our biggest event here over the next 3 months or so going forward. Obviously, we're setting rooms differently. We set this room differently. Social distancing and how we do that in the building is going to be different. And until we can have more capacity in rooms, we're going to be doing this a little differently. Just last week, we had the commissioner from the state of Minnesota, DEED, Department of Economic and Energy Development, or something like that. It stands for DEED. And he's the one that's in charge of all of our restrictions. And we had him come to the convention center, and we brought him through and showed him how we set rooms, showed him what we're doing to maintain safety, what we're doing for cleaning, what we're doing for food and beverage. Again, to try to increase the restrictions that we have, knowing that we have a big building, we run it well, we have great staff, and we're trying to prove to him that we can do larger events. Right now we are held to events of 250 people or less, and we can have up to 6 of those events going on in the building if we keep them separate through the building. So here are some updates of things. It's been a challenging year for Minneapolis, and not only have we had COVID-19, but we had the death of George Floyd and the civil unrest that followed last summer, and now we've got a trial coming up for the former police officer that was involved in a death of George Floyd. And so I talked about stress a little bit ago, and there's a lot of stress in the city, and there's a lot of challenges in the city. And so we know that the trial itself, we think, I guess I should say, the trial itself will start the process of finding jury members on March 8th, which is next Monday. They think that process will take about a month. On here, I think we have March 22nd. I've heard that opening statements will be on March 29th, which is right at the end of March, and that then the trial itself will last anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And so that gets us somewhere in the time frame of mid-April through mid-May, where the trial would be ending. And obviously, if you've driven around downtown, you can start to see that there's things that are being put in place from a security standpoint. There have been a lot of different press conferences in the last few weeks, or last week and a half probably. There's something called Operation Safety Net, if you haven't heard about that. That is what the police department is calling the safety measures that they're putting in place during the trial. Most of that activity is happening around the Hennepin County courthouse, the city hall, and kind of that area. There are some things also that are being put in place around 38th in Chicago, where George Floyd was killed. And so the city is starting to prepare. The city is starting to talk about what they're going to do during this time frame. I can tell you that there's a lot going on. As you all know, that the convention center was used during the civil unrest last summer. I can tell you that we will be a part of the logistics during this time frame, most likely April 15th to April 30th. The details of all of that are really not quite known yet, but that doesn't mean that we're shutting down. It's not going to be the same type of thing that as far as I know, the same type of thing that happened this past summer during the civil unrest. So we'll still be holding events, but we'll only be holding events in Hall A, Hall B, where we've got the vaccination and the testing, the ballroom, 101, and then some of the meeting rooms up here on this side of the building. The rest of the building would be then used for that logistics during that time for that Operation Safety Net. And so we've got a lot going on in the next month or so, and a lot of activity going on in the building in the next month or so, not all of it just event activity. And so that's when I say that there are going to be changes because we all don't know what's going to happen during the trial, and we don't know what will happen around the city during that trial. And so that communication of when to come to work, how to come to work, where to park, all of those things, we're going to try our best to get that information to you. But we ask for your flexibility during that time frame because, again, we don't know what's going to happen. We can all hope for the best. We can all hope for calm, and we can all hope, as the city has been saying in the past few days, that if people want to protest, if people want to use their First Amendment right, that they do that, and they do that in a way that is peaceful, and hopefully those effects won't affect us and our operation here at the convention center, because we still will remain open and will remain hosting the events that we do have in the building. Again, we'll still communicate, and we'll try to provide any updates that we can and any information that we can as the trial progresses. I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions about the trial or about that time frame. If anyone has questions or concerns about work, about being in the city. Okay, if something does come up, definitely you can reach out again to your manager or reach out to me, and I will do the best that I can to answer those questions. Which one did I miss?
No, just maybe there's a question coming in.
Oh.
But go ahead.
Okay. I also wanted to, there's a new way of communicating that we've come up with as a SharePoint site, and I'm not the expert on it. I know that Nancy and Colin have been working very, very hard on it, and so you'll start to see things like the daily message. You'll start to see different communications. You'll start to see our event calendar that is now will be placed online through a SharePoint site. We'll teach you about it. I have to be taught it also, and we'll teach you how to access that. But what that will help from a communication standpoint too is that you won't have to wait to come to work to actually get a sheet of paper that is the daily message. You'll be able to get information electronically so that if you're at home and need to know something, you can be able to get on to that SharePoint site and see information as it changes, and we'll do our best to keep that site updated. We'll do our best to communicate through text messages like we have been through either my videos or other things in the coming weeks. And so we're adding those new tools to try to help get that information out to you quicker because we know that things change quite rapidly. And I wanted to talk a little bit. I have the great pleasure of not being on social media, and so it's a wonderful thing for me, but I know that a lot of people like social media, and social media is a component to your life. And I wanted to talk a little bit about social media, one, because we are going to be in this challenging time here in the next few months about what's going on in our country, what's going on in our city, and so I wanted to just talk a little bit about social media. And so social media, we know it's a very important tool to get communication out. We also know that social media can sometimes have some challenges with it. And so one thing you should think about when you're on social media and you're talking about things, by all means, it's your First Amendment right to talk about issues and to talk about things on social media and to express yourself on social media. The place that you should be really, really careful is when you start to talk as a city employee. So something like if you were to say, hey, I work at the Minneapolis Convention Center, and this is blank, 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 blank. And so stating that you're an employee of the city, an employee of the convention center, starts to take that in to be more of a employment type conversation, an employee type conversation, and then that puts some risk at those First Amendment right conversations. And so it's very important for you as you are out on social media to understand the difference between you as an individual who is not working and you as an individual who is speaking as an employee of the city of Minneapolis. I'm sure there's some questions about that. It is a gray area. It's not an easy thing to come up and say, here are the rules and this is what you can and can't do. What I'm asking you to do is to just be careful when you're out there. Be careful in what you say. Be careful in how you represent yourself. And when you're representing yourself as a city employee, be very, very careful in the information that you give out. So there's that component to social media. There's also a component of social media that we use here at the Convention Center in a way to speak to our clients. And so we have a Facebook site. Meet Minneapolis runs our Facebook site. Meet Minneapolis does tweets. I'm sure there's some other social media platform, Instagram and other things that Meet Minneapolis works on. Generally, what those sites are doing is those sites are talking to our clients and talking to our community and telling them how great we are and sharing information with them that ties to our brand and makes our clients and our community want to come to the Minneapolis Convention Center. And so when you're out there on social media and you come upon those sites and you start talking, you have to understand that that's the message that we're trying and the brand that we're trying to put out there. It's almost like advertising. And so as you comment on those sites or as you talk about those, remember that you're talking directly to our clients, you're talking directly to our community. And so when you say things that aren't, are maybe an inside joke with your employees and your coworkers, or maybe something that doesn't necessarily align with our brand, it may be funny. It may be something that we all think and snicker at, but it's also something that's taking away from our brand and taking away from our ability to host events. And so just as if you worked at a hotel and you went onto the hotel's website and you gave the hotel a 1 star out of 4 and said the water was cold, or water's always cold there in the shower because the pipes haven't had any investment in them in 20 years. I don't know why you would say that, but let's say you say that. You're speaking direct. You may think that you're proving a point to your manager or you're proving a point to your executive director or whatever, but what you're really doing is you're talking to our clients and you're telling our clients that maybe this isn't a place that you should come. And so I would just ask you to please be understanding and be aware that those social media posts are for our clients. And if you're going to post on there, again, you start to post not as an individual, you're posting as a city Minneapolis Convention Center employee. And we all want to have a lot of events here. We all want to be busy because that helps us have jobs. And so understand that that's a component of our social media as we go forward. And I'm speaking about this because we are all online a lot more than even we were 11 months ago, because that's our way to communicate. We can't just get together with people as much as we used to. We can't see people as much as we used to, and so we are doing things online a lot more. And so I urge you to be careful and to understand what social media is used for and what your role is in social media. Do people have questions about that? Or, again, I am a novice. I don't do social media, so I don't exactly know how it all works, but I'd be happy to answer questions if you have questions or I wasn't clear in that. All right, we'll keep moving. All right, I'm going to head off to Nancy here a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit more on where we're at, who we are, where we're going, and some of the things that are coming. And I think, again, I mentioned early on that even though we're back together today and we're celebrating that fact, we're still different, and we're always going to be different, and going forward is going to be different. And so that part is the same, but also the mission and the goals and who we are is going to stay the same as we go forward.
Thank you. So it looks like everybody needs a 30-second stretch break. So I'm going to give that to you before I get started. So if you want to do 5 jumping jacks or stand up and stretch or wiggle your body, I'm going to give you a couple seconds to do that. I know that was a lot of information. Sounds like Marcus wants to challenge someone to a squat competition. Okay, thank you everyone for the quick stretch break, and I'm glad to see some people are grabbing some snacks to have later. So the last 10 minutes is going to be a little bit more interactive, so we will have a chance to chat with people. I will just tee up that activity with talking a little bit about our service philosophy. You can go back a couple slides. We are, perfect. So our service philosophy, I don't think we need a reminder for this one. We all make a positive impact. And the opportunity that we're given with the pandemic is something that we already thrive at doing. We're all in the hospitality industry, and providing service comes very naturally to us. I think there'll be a little bit different needs when it comes to service as our employees and as our clients come back into the building. Safety has always been a top priority, but that looks a little bit different now. So making sure that people are social distancing is a safety priority, where previously we looked at safety a little bit different. So being able to comfort our guests and our employees that we prioritize safety, that we are here to help them navigate the difficult circumstances, is really important and an important aspect of our service. We're a relationship building. And this past year has been very, very challenging, partially because we've all had very different experiences. So some people have been working in the building the entire time. Some people have been on budgetary leave the entire time. Some people are still on budgetary leave. Some people are welcoming coworkers back into the building. Some employees have had the opportunity to be reassigned and learn about different city departments. Some people were reassigned for a majority of the past year, and some people did a really brief reassignment. Some people had a significant challenge with the civil unrest. Some people had a significant challenge with the COVID-19 pandemic. Some employees became teachers. There's a lot of different experiences, and as we're coming back together, it's really important to acknowledge those different experiences, because in order to have our relationships, we need to have empathy and trust and understanding. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the value of our relationship and to give a little space so that we can share some of that experience that we've had over the past year. So none of us had the exact same experience. Some of us might have been able to work the whole time. Some of us might not have been at work, but there's still variances in all of our personal and positions. So I want to give a little space today for us to check in with each other and hear a little bit of those stories. I encourage you, if you're sitting at a table with people that you talk to every day and that you're in the same position with, to maybe switch to a table where you may learn something different from chatting with that person. So we're going to give about 10 minutes for you to discuss how the past year has been for you, or how, if you're just returning to work, how that is, or if you've been at work, how it is to have people return to work. So I'm going to give about 10 minutes to let you have those conversations. Thank you, everyone. It sounds like there's been some really good conversations. I put up this picture up on the screen because, as you can see from different perspectives, you can see a totally different picture. So I don't know if anyone had that experience as you were talking to people in your groups, that someone had a very different experience than you might have had. In this picture, they're looking at an elephant. And if you're looking at just the tail, you might think it's a rope. Or if you're looking at the tusk, you might think it's a spear. So, there's different experiences based on what you went through. So that's why it's an important thing to talk about as we prioritize relationships. I won't ask you to speak for anyone else, but is there anything that you were sharing at your table or that you took out of that conversation with someone at your table that you would like to share with the group? I hear you. If you couldn't hear James, what he was talking about is the different layers of the pandemic, where some people needed to stay home and teach their kids, some people were laid off or not able to work, and that it's harder to move up or keep moving forward in your life when you have something challenging like that hold you back. The other thing I will mention in closing is that this is a picture kind of putting from one street all the way to the next and kind of how we move forward. This is going to be different for us. We're going to continue to be resilient and continue to be flexible. We did have about 12 people retire in the retirement incentive. Unfortunately, we weren't able to give them a proper goodbye in person, but we do intend to do that at some point. Hopefully, we can have a party in person once it's all safe and invite those people back. We've also had another about 10 people who have chosen to resign or retire over the past year. So that our workforce is different. We have a smaller crew currently. In fact, in event operations, majority of the people have returned, a few have not, but we are getting pretty close to the full team, but it's significantly smaller than what we think of in the event operations team. So as we return to events and and hopefully continue to bring everybody back, it looks a little bit different, and we will have to be very flexible and resilient as we kind of have these peaks and valleys and slowly build our staff back up. So any questions about either of those topics?
Just in closing, I am excited because I know what we are, and we are the best, right? And I know where we've been, I know where we can go, and I know that we can do that all together. And so I'm excited to see those of you that are here. I'm excited for those of you that are watching on video. I'm excited to get more and more people back to work and start to get back to what we hope is more of a reality. This last year, for me personally, has been kind of like a time warp. Time has been a very weird thing, right? The days are so slow sometimes, and the time going and moving on, and you're always thinking about, when is this going to be over? When is this going to be over? And then you wake up and we're 11 months into this, and so much has changed. Our world has changed. And so I'm looking forward to getting back to that normal and getting back to moving forward with all of you. I wanted to leave some space for questions. We've been kind of a quiet group, and maybe this isn't where you want to ask those questions, but I would offer up that you can ask questions in many different ways and through many different, through email, through phone calls, in person, all of those different things. But does anyone have any questions about things that we talked about today, or the future, or what's happening? Anything that's unclear that we can try to help put some perspective into? Any decisions that we made in the past that you weren't sure of or have questions about? Well, just know that everything that we're trying to do is to make sure that we can get everybody back who wants to come back and is going to come back, that they're back to work and they're moving forward, and we're starting to host events again. And that's our ultimate goal. And all of these things that we're doing and we talked about today are going to get us there. So I appreciate your time today. Great to see everybody. I'm sure as we're walking around, we'll see each other again. But thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day.